Undisputed lightweight championship of the world on the line. Vasiliy Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. Lomachenko a minus 400 favorite, perhaps the pound-for-pound best in the world. Late round 6. Finally, it starts heating up a little bit. Lopez touching the chin of Lomachenko. The first few rounds were all Lopez because Lomachenko simply wasn't throwing any punches. Round 8. Loma lands a stiff left hand that backs up Lopez, and then Lomachenko throwing these punches in the clinch. Lopez a little banged up there. Round 10. Really starting to heat up now. Loma looking good. Straight, solid punches that were connecting, including that jab cross. Round 11. Lopez beginning to tire, or so it seemed, as Lopez pouring it on. It looked like he won rounds 9, 10, and 11. One judge didn't agree with that, but it felt like Lopez had to win the 12th round to assure his victory, and he came out firing. He did indeed win the 12th round, although a cut busted open over his right eye. And in the end, a unanimous decision victory for that man, the 23-year-old Teofimo Lopez, the youngest four-belt title holder of all time. In the sweet science here were the judges' scorecards: 116, 112, 117, 111, and then Julie Letterman. What was she doing? 119, 109. But it seems like the right guy won, and Lopez beats Lomachenko. Here are the winning wagers. If you took that money line at plus 320, a lot of people thought if Lopez won this fight, it would be by knockout, but it was a decision, and it paid pretty well if you took it at plus 900, and the fight did go the distance, which was at minus 190. How about we bring in the co-hosts of Morning Combat, Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell, two gentlemen I know very well and whom I do not like at all. Let's start first with you, Luke. First 6 rounds, Lomachenko seemed like he wasn't there at all. In your opinion, what went wrong, especially in the early rounds, for him?
Nothing. Nothing went wrong. Nothing was wrong with him. I mean, listen, the stories might come out later on that maybe he had some kind of injury or some kind of pre-fight issue or had some kind of distraction, but oftentimes when you see an opponent who just doesn't engage, or at least is very defensively minded, it's not because there's anything wrong with them. It's because there's everything right with their opponent. Teofimo Lopez is not just an excellent boxer. He is very, very athletic, very quick, and makes really, really quick reads. I don't know why the rest of the boxing world has a hard time understanding this. This was very obvious in the Richard Comey fight and many other ones as well. You could just tell this dude can look at what he is in front of him and is able to make adjustments on the fly. Now, that right uppercut from Lopez had a little bit of a hard time finding the target because, well, Lomachenko is Lomachenko. But nevertheless, Lomachenko was making read after read after read, trying to find opening after opening after opening, and Lopez simply did not let him. He had a lot of fakes and feints. He was backing him up. He was bullying him. He just wouldn't let him get set to get open. That changed later on. But you asked about the first 6 rounds. It's because Lopez was just better.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed that, Luke. And look, Lomachenko was coming off a 14-month layoff, the longest of his career. But look at this. When we talked about the brash Lopez's chances coming into this fight, we pretty much assumed as the bigger fighter, as the bigger puncher, that it had to be through knockout. I think the biggest upset on this evening, along with the result, was the fact that Lopez essentially came in there and outboxed really the best pure boxer in this game, and maybe, depending on your thoughts coming in, the pound-for-pound king. Here's what I thought went down in the first half of the fight. Lopez ultimately disarmed Lomachenko by simply being faster and sharper than the defensive wizard thought he would be. You saw Lomachenko taking snapshots, maybe waiting around for Lopez, who we didn't know what kind of poise he had. We didn't know with that lack of experience how that would translate on this level, that maybe he would fall apart. Even though he got tired, that never happened. I definitely have to give Lomachenko credit, not being a big puncher, for stepping on the gas and really making it, as you said, Todd, seem like a close fight as we went to the cards. But at the end of the day, a star is born. He calls himself the Takeover. He seems poised to do just that, not just to the lightweight division, but maybe the sport.
Everyone was wondering, Luke, can Lopez figure Lomachenko out? In the end, it looked like Lomachenko really couldn't figure out Lopez until perhaps it was too late. Do you have any appetite to see this fight again? Will there be a rematch?
Well, it's funny. Bob Arum, who promoted this fight, said there was no rematch clause, which I find very surprising. Usually, when you get a big fight with a lot of big stakes and a lot of big names, Lopez on the come up, but Lomachenko as established as they come, that is usually a foregone conclusion. They didn't have one here, so that's interesting. Still, I do think there is an appetite for one because of the stakes involved and because the right guy won, as you indicated, but the scores were a little off. I mean, I thought Lopez had a very good chance heading into this contest. I still scored it 115, 113. 119, 109 is indefensible. I don't know how on earth you could even find a score like that. So between all of those factors, there might be a way to get it done. And also, when you just beat a big name in boxing, usually you have to do it twice, whether there's a clause or not. They just make you do it. Even that's true about combat sports in general, not just boxing. So they might find a way to get this done. Also, there's not necessarily a natural opponent. In the post-fight interview, they were asking Lopez what might be next. He was talking about 140 pounds. He wasn't even talking about 135 anymore. So I guess we'll have to see. But my guess is I would say that's your clubhouse leader. How about that?
Brian, there's a lot of young, great, talented fighters, could be superstars. You got Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson, and, of course, Teofimo Lopez at the top. It's a great time to be a boxing fan if these guys will fight each other like we saw tonight on free television. Is that the way boxing can perhaps turn a corner and get back into the popular consciousness? These guys fight on TV, fight each other, and we don't have to suffer from, hey, you got to have an undefeated record. The best aren't going to fight the best.
In theory, yes, and obviously a big part, if you believe that boxing's in a period of renaissance right now, is that the heavyweight division is active. That's normally the gateway drug to the casuals. Another way to do that, obviously, is making the best fight the best. Let's take that moment for how refreshing this was on free-ish TV to see that. The problem is when we talk about moving forward, this lightweight division is absolutely loaded, as you mentioned. These are blockbuster potential fights if Lopez faced any of these guys, from Tank Davis to Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, on and on. The problem is all of those guys are on opposite sides of the street of Lopez at the moment in the politics of boxing when it comes to make big fights. It's probably most dependent on what's next for Lopez, on whether his body, just turned 23, can still comfortably make this lightweight limit. I think it's more likely, as Luke mentioned, because both fighters are promoted by Top Rank, that maybe we do see this a second time. But what Top Rank does have going for them at the moment is the best 140-pound fighters in the world. We know we're going to get that 4-belt unification fight coming up between unbeaten Jose Ramirez and also the Tartan Tornado himself, Josh Taylor. That's a big-time fight. If Teofimo Lopez wants to insert himself into what's going on in junior welterweight, certainly big fights to make right there. I'd love to see all these big lightweight matchups. Please, let's get the promoters' hands. Can we turn them? Can we make it happen? Not so fast, my friend.
Floyd Mayweather was all about capture the bag, chase the money. Maybe Teofimo Lopez is cut from a different cloth. He dared to be great tonight, and great he was, beating perhaps the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Vasiliy Lomachenko, by unanimous decision. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure. Thanks for joining me. Luke Thomas and that man, BC, Brian Campbell. You can catch them at 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for Morning Combat live on YouTube. Subscribe anywhere podcasts are found.